So, I want to talk to you today about one of the most underutilized revenue streams in independent pharmacy, which is workers' compensation. Now, I am a big fan of increasing your non PBM revenue, and workers' compensation can be one of the best ways to do that. Now, this revenue stream is typically good in about 40 of the 50 states, so about 80%. So, if you're curious on to know if you qualify, I'll give you the link below and you can click on it and talk to the company that I recommend. But I want to talk really about the opportunity. Workers' compensation has really a bad reputation because of the infiltration from the PBMs into this space. Many years ago, they got very aggressive. So Temesis, Express Scripts, those are some of the most common. There's many others. But when they came into this space, you no longer was receiving really the state regulated reimbursement rates. You began receiving the really crappy PBM reimbursement rates. And we all know how bad those are. So what does this look like in terms of numbers? So in many states, workers' compensation prescriptions, the reimbursement rate is actually legislated. It's part of the law and the requirements for workers' compensation. In many states, it's AWP, full AWP price. There might be a small dispensing fee included. There might be a small discount included, but essentially it's about AWP's the reimbursement rate for workers' compensation. Now, instead, if you bill it to a PBM that is going to process the claim on behalf of the state, then you're accepting their contract rate. And many times those contract rates are AWP minus 86%, 87%, sometimes 89%. And so you're losing 86, 87% of your reimbursement is going to the PBM, because the way that it works is you bill the prescription. If you bill it to a PBM, the PBM bills it to the state pays the full reimbursement amount, which is typically, like we said, the full AWP. And the PBM then reimburses you the teeny tiny little amount, and they get to keep that spread that in the middle. So when you're billing a typical workers' compensation prescription to a typical PBM, you're really getting pennies on the dollar in terms of revenue. And so those look like crappy claims. You're not making very much money. There's usually a few extra steps and a little extra legwork. And so many independent pharmacies have really turned away from workers' compensation prescriptions. However, there is a different way to bill. You don't always have to use the PBM with their crappy reimbursement rates. You can actually direct bill to the state workers' compensation insurance plan and get your full allowable reimbursement rate. This can drastically improve the profitability of your workers' compensation prescriptions. Prescriptions that you're getting reimbursed at $5, $6 now, all of a sudden become $95 or $120, become massive amounts of revenue. And again, you're not billing anything wrong or incorrectly or gaming the system. You're just cutting out the PBM from taking their fat cut. Now, paper billing can be arduous. There's a lot of steps involved. You got to figure out who to bill. So there popped up some companies that will actually help you direct bill your claims. So for the pharmacy, the experience is more like billing to a PBM in the sense that you bill everything online and you send the information over to the company. The company then takes all that information. They do all the manual labor and the manual paper billing to the workers' comp insurer, and then they take a piece of the pie only for what's paid. That's the really great thing that I love about the workers' compensation space and the direct billing is they only take a cut of what is actually paid. So if they don't get paid, then you don't pay them, which I think is a really good win-win for everybody. Once you direct bill and you cut out the PBM, you get to keep all of that extra money. And so now workers' compensation prescriptions become very profitable. And I think independent pharmacies are really the best place for these patients. Many times when patients go on workers' compensation, they're not used to taking medications. They don't really have maybe a pharmacy that they work with. And so that is a perfect time for you to grab that patient and get them to be a part of your pharmacy family. Independent pharmacies also obviously offer services like delivery or mailing of prescriptions, even after hours filling or prompt filling. whereas we all know that a lot of the major corporations do not. And so workers' compensation, if you break your leg at work, the last thing you want to do is go to the pharmacy every week or two to get your prescriptions. And so you guys can provide a really big value to those pharmacies and to those prescribers and really make this a seamless process that's really a win-win for everybody. Now, the direct billing company that I recommend is StreamCare. You guys may have heard of them. Lloyd Regis is over there at StreamCare. And I just love this company from the moment that I met them. They are authentic, they're transparent, and super honest. If Lloyd cannot help you, he will tell you that he cannot help you. If you're in one of the states that it's kind of iffy, or maybe the legislation isn't on your side, he will tell you straight up. So if you ever want straight shooting advice on workers' compensation billing, I highly recommend you have a conversation with Lloyd over at StreamCare. Now, if you would want to find out if you qualify, the link that I'll put down there is our link, diversifyrx.com/StreamCare. And you can find out if you're one of the good states where there's laws and reimbursement schedules that are on your side. Now, when you're trying to grow your workers' compensation business, it's often can be best to start with your own patients that you're currently filling for. Almost every pharmacy probably has at least one or two patients that they are filling for, and you can do quick reports. I've worked with Lloyd, and we've got a bin list of kind of the most common workers' compensation bins. And so you can do some reports to see if you're currently billing any prescriptions to any of those bin numbers. Because once you sign up with a company like StreamCare, everything that changes is only on the back end. So the patient isn't going to get any different experience. The doctor's not going to get a different experience. You just change it on the back end. So if you are currently billing for any workers' compensation prescriptions and you sign up with StreamCare, all you have to do is change that billing in the background to go to StreamCare instead of to the PBM. And bada bing, bada boom, you've increased your profitability with no increase of cost to the state. There's nothing that changes on their end. They're not paying more money. You're just actually keeping more money by getting rid of those expensive middleman PBMs. I hope you enjoy this information. Check out the link below. See if you qualify and see if a workers' compensation niche is right for your pharmacy.